Hi everybody, welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to be making a cable stitched beanie. So this beanie, as you can see in the picture, is really tiny. However, I do show you how to make the cable stitch pattern, so you can make a beanie in any size you want. In the description below, I'll also include different sizing options for your beanies, so you can see how big or small you want to make your beanie. Now, if you're wondering why this beanie is so tiny, this beanie is going to go to an organization called Bundles for Babies, and they make tiny bundles that include a little baby beanie, and they include a tiny blanket, and these get distributed to hospitals in the US for parents that have lost their infants. So these are really tiny babies. We're talking like 18 to 22-week-old babies. So if you want to learn more about this organization and how you can contribute, please go to the description below, and I'll get you where you can find the website and a little bit of information about the organization. So just go ahead, grab some yarn, grab a hook, and let's get started. So this is a pattern we're going to be crocheting today. This is the tiny blanket that I'm going to be donating to the organization, but this is the pattern we're going to be making. Now this pattern, you can make it as big or small as you want so that you can make whatever size beanie you want to make. So to make this pattern, we're going to be starting with just yarn. I'm just using some of my baby sport yarn I have, but you can use any yarn you want, and you can use any hook you want. This is a size 3.5 yarn, and I'm using a G hook. If you use something bigger, just make sure you get the hook to match. So to start, we're going to be starting with a slip knot. So wrap the yarn around your finger and then pull some of the yarn through, and now you have a slip knot. And we're going to begin to chain. So to chain, you wrap the yarn around your hook and you pull it through that little loop that you have on your hook. So wrap around and pull through. The chain that we need is, or this pattern I suppose, is worked in multiples of 10 plus 1. So make it as long as you want. Just make sure that you do it in multiples of 10. So for this tiny hat, I'm going to work 20 and then plus 1, so it'll be 21. If I were to make this hat so that it fit me, I would have to crochet 22 inches worth of a chain and then make sure that I ended that in multiples of 10. So here's my chain of 20. So I'm just going to crochet my plus 1. So now we're at 21. And now we can start on our first row. So we're going to chain 2 additional chains. And see, we've got those 2, and the chain that I pinched is the third one from your hook, and that's where we're going to make our first double crochet. So we yarn over and we insert our hook into the stitch, and then we yarn over and pull through. So now we have 3 loops on our chain, and we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. I'll do it again slowly in case you missed it after I get some yarn. Alright, so you yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, and you yarn over again, and you yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and that is our double crochet. So we're going to make a double crochet in each of the stitches of the chain. So I'll just keep working on my double crochets, and I'll see you when I'm done. So I have finished my first row, and that is my first row of double crochets, and I made a double crochet in each of the stitches, and this is going to set up our foundation for our cable stitching. So here's the pattern of 10. It starts with this front post double crochet, and then the cable takes up 4 stitches, and then we have this little space, which is our double crochet, and then our 2 remaining front post crochets, and we just repeat that however many times we need. So to start with the cable part, we're just going to crochet 2 chains, and we turn our work around. So our very first one is going to be a front post double crochet. So it's like a double crochet, only front post. So yarn over, and we're going to slip behind that post and push it forward. So then we yarn over again and pull through that stitch. So we're going to have 3 loops on our hook, and then we just yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's a front post double crochet. We're going to make a second front post double crochet. So we just make a second one just like we did that first one. And our next stitch is a double crochet. And that one's going to be worked in the actual stitch. So here's the stitch and there's the post. So it's just the stitch. So just a regular double crochet. And this is where we're going to start our cabling. So we're going to use triple crochets, and then this post we skip it because it goes to the stitch that we just made, so just skip that one. So we're going to skip these first 2 posts, and in this third one and fourth one is where we're going to start to make our triple crochets. So we yarn over twice, so it's like a double crochet but it's triple, so you go 1 more, And we're going to slip behind the post and push it forward, and then just yarn over and pull through that stitch. So now we have 4 loops on our yarn, on our hook, sorry. Then we yarn over, pull through 2, and we yarn over, pull through 2, and we yarn over one last time and pull through the last 2 stitches. So that is a front post triple crochet. So see how we've skipped these 2 stitches? We'll come back to those later. So we're going to make one more front post triple crochet in the stitch right next to it. So here we go, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Great, so we have 2 front post triple crochets. Now we're going to do back post triple crochets. So see, we're going to push the post back. So we yarn over it twice, and we go back to the very first of the skipped stitches. So here's that very first post we skipped. Now we're going to pull our hook through the back and push our post backward. So there we go. Do you see the post? So we've pushed it back instead of forward. And we just grab our yarn and pull through that stitch. So we're still going to have our 4 loops on the hook, and we just yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over 2, yarn over, and 2 more. That's a back post triple crochet. So here's the first one, and in the second one, see it's kind of sandwiched in there, we need to make another back post triple crochet. So I've yarned over twice, and then I push the post backwards. So I come in towards the front of the post and then just push it back. And then I just kind of pull through that stitch. So I have all my 4 loops, and we just yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And that is our cable. I know it looks like a crazy knotted mess right now, but it starts to become really nice here in about another row. So we're going to go to the very next stitch. So here's this next post. We're going to use the stitch. So make a double crochet in the stitch right next to our cable. And then we're going to see, you can kind of see it a little better. And then we're going to make our 2 last front post double crochets. So here's our first front post double crochet, and we make our second one. And that is the end of the pattern. So that is the 10 stitches plus 1. So you're essentially just repeating this over and over again. And that's what's going to give us the cabled look. So if we were to finish it, I'd just do one more double crochet and then make my chain and go the other way. But we're repeating it because we need to make this pattern twice. So I'm just going to go ahead and repeat it a second time. And I'll leave the camera rolling so you can see how I work through it. But essentially it's just repeating the exact same thing I just did. So I'm just going to keep finishing this. And you can hang out and watch if you want to. Okay, so I have to finish my last front post double crochet, and then I have to show you how we're going to finish the row. And this is the same for any of the rows that you finish. So you see this little chain here? We have to make a double crochet between that chain and the last post we just made. And that way it'll keep our stitch count even. So that is our second row. So for the next row, we just chain 2, turn our work around, and see all these different raised ones? So these were our front ones. Now these are going to become back post double and triple, or back post double crochets because they're all going to be double crochets. So except for these, which are just the regular double crochets, those just stay the same. So this first front post double crochet now becomes a back post double crochet. So we have to push the post back and make our double crochet. So I'll do it again. We come in from the towards the front, push the post back, and then close our double crochet. So this one that is a regular double crochet, you just make a regular double crochet. So now we've gotten to our cable. So you're going to work these in the order in which you reach them. So you're not going to be skipping anything. You just kind of work your way through them because we're extending the cable so that it looks a little bit taller and you can see the cable better. And this one's just going to be worked as a back post double crochet. So just like we did in the first 2 stitches of the row. So I move on to my next 2 cable stitches. See, they're the ones that are kind of hidden here in the back. So you just push them forward and we make a back post double crochet. I'm sorry, you push them backwards, sorry. And then go to the next one, push that back and close our back post double crochet. Let's get some more yarn. And then the next stitch is just our regular double crochet. So that one we're just going to crochet like a regular double crochet. So double crochet. And then we have our back post double crochets. So since we repeated the pattern, instead of just having the 2 and ending the row, we have 4. So I will keep working these 4 back post double crochets. And then I'll walk through one more time how to do this row with you. So there we go. And then our next stitch was our double crochet, and then we get to our cable. So here's the first stitch of the cable, and it's just a back post double crochet. So yarn over and push the post backward and do another back post double crochet. Get to the other half of the cable, do the same, back post double crochet, and do one more. And then we have a regular double crochet, and then my last 2 back post double crochets. So there's 1 and 2. And don't forget your very last double crochet of the row, which is in this little chain space. So always remember that last one. So we have our double crochet, and that's the end of row 3. So we chain 2, turn your work around, and now we're going to do the opposite. So everything was a back post double crochet. Now this time it becomes a front post double crochet, including the stitches of the cable, because we're going to give it a little bit more height. So it's going to help define our cables a little bit better. So we start with a front post double crochet and then our regular double crochet. So here, let me show you kind of, okay, see? So this is the 3 rows that we've done, and then we just cable in the 4th. So I'll show you here in a minute, or I guess it's the 5th row technically, but we'll get there. So here is our front post double crochet, and then we move on to our next one, which is also a front post double crochet. And these get a lot easier to see by this row because you can already see them popping out. This one is just a regular double crochet, and you'll notice it because it's kind of hidden in the back. So we get to our cable again, and we do the exact same thing we did last time. You just ignore it. You don't have to crisscross it. You just treat it like a regular front post double crochet. So I'll just work through all 4 stitches of our cable as a front post double crochet. And something to remember when you're making these, which I probably should have mentioned at the beginning, but is to use as loose a tension as you can, because the looser the tension, the easier it is to work your cables. So don't tighten them too much, and that'll also keep it from rolling up. So see, you're starting to be able to see our cable a little bit better. Okay, so I finished working the rest of the row in the exact same way. So all of our front post double crochets became a front post double crochet, and then our regular one is just a regular double crochet. And then I finished my last double crochet of the row, and now we go to the next row. So we chain 2, and we're repeating the same thing we did 2 rows ago. So all of those front post double crochets now become back post double crochets. So the first 2 stitches, we push them back and make a back post double crochet, and then we have a regular double crochet, and then we get to our cable, and that also becomes back post double crochets. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we've gotten through all of our cable stitching. And then we make a regular double crochet, and we finish off with our 2 remaining back post double crochets. So I'll finish the row, and then we'll start the next row. See, and this is our last row of just these regular ones before we finish up our cable. Okay, so now this stitch, or this row, excuse me, is the same as the first row we did. So we start with our first front post double crochets. Those remain the same, and our double crochet is the same as well. So now we get to the cable, and we're going to cable them again. So we're going to skip our first 2 cables and go to the third, and that's when we're going to yarn over twice, because we're going to do our triple crochet, and this one is going to be a front post triple crochet. So skip the 2 first ones, and in the third one, push your post forward and make a triple crochet. So we got our 4 loops. So we yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to do the same one with the stitch right next to it. So yarn over 2, yarn over 2, and yarn over 2. Now we're going to go back to the front, or to the first 2 that we skipped, and we have to pull these backward so that they create that cabled look. So we're going to push that little post back. So we yarn over twice, we come in from back here, and we're going to push the post back. And you can use, I find it's easier to just use the hook part of my crochet hook to help me pull the post back. I don't know if it helps you or not, but it certainly helps me, and it makes it go by a lot quicker. So yarn over twice, come towards the front, pull that post back, and then we pull our yarn through. And now we've got our 4 loops, and then we yarn over 2, yarn over 2, and yarn over 2. So there is our cable. So our next stitch is our double crochet. Then we have our front post double crochets, and then we just repeat. So we start with our front post double crochets, go to our regular double crochet, and we approach our cable. So we skip the first 2, and then we wrap around twice, go to the third one, and we do a front post triple crochet, yarn over twice, and go to the next one and make another triple crochet. And now we go back to the 2 skipped stitches, and we yarn over twice and go and make 2 back post triple crochets. So here's our first one, and we go back to the other skipped one. So yarn over twice and go to the second skipped post, pull that back, and close our triple crochet. So now we have, the next stitch is a double crochet, and we have our last 2 front post double crochets, and that's it. So from here on out, you're just repeating these same rows. So the next 3 rows are the ones where we're not working the cable, so they're just the front post and back post double crochets, and we're just going to repeat this over and over. So if you need to see this on the written pattern, I do have that available on my blog, and I'll link it down in the description below. So this is what it's going to look like after you've repeated the rows several times. So you're repeating, what is it, row 2, 3, 4, and 5 over and over again. So now to make the hat, so the hat that I need for bundles for babies needs to be 3 to up to 3.5 inches long. So I still need to crochet a couple more rows. So here we go. And how, so if I fold it in half, it's 2.5 inches of wide, which is what it needs to be. It needs to be anywhere between 2.5 to 3 inches wide. If you're making this hat for yourself, just make sure that you can wrap your entire cabled part around your head comfortably. So if I were to make this hat for me, I would have to crochet this hat so that it was 22 inches long. So this pattern would have had to have been 22 inches across or wide so that it fits me comfortably as a hat. And as you saw a little while ago that I folded this hat in half just to make sure that it was the 2.5 inches. That's because we're going to sew it together. So that's why it had to be 2.5 inches. See, if it were to be for me, when I folded it in half, it would have to be 11 inches. And then at that point, I know I can sew it together and then it would fit me comfortably. Something to note about this pattern is that it does shrink a little bit. So my initial chain for the blanket that you saw, the pink one, was 13 inches because I need the blanket to be 12 to 14 inches. And it went, so my chain was 13 inches and it shrank to 10 inches once I finished all of the cabling. So it will shrink a little bit, so give it a little bit more space when you are making the cabled part to fit as a comfortable beanie. So I'm going to just keep crocheting here because I had a couple more rows I needed to make in order to make the hat as tall as I needed it to be. If you don't know how tall you need the hat to be, I am going to put some measurements in the description below so you can kind of get an idea if you're not making this hat for yourself. So there we go. I have finished making all of the rows I need. Let's see how tall this is. So we've got about 3 inches. That's perfect. So I'm just going to make a brim now. So you can either, if you want a brim, you can go ahead and make one. Otherwise, you can crochet a little bit more. So to make this brim, it's just a really quick and easy one. I'm just going to chain 2 and I'm going to make a row of double crochets. So I'm just going to double crochet in each of the stitches of this row. And this is going to give it a bit of a ribbed look. And this one's just a quicker version of a ribbed brim than some of the half double crochet ones I've seen. They look great. It's just they take a little bit longer, and this one's kind of a chunky look to it. So I want to have a chunky look to the brim as well. So if you're going to make this for an adult beanie, you can do the same. So you just make a double crochet in each of the stitches on the bottom part of the cabling, which is what you want to fit around your head. Finish my first row of the brim, which was my row of double crochets, and now we chain 2 and we're going to turn our work around. So here we're just going to work alternating front and back post double crochets. So I'm just going to start with a front post double crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook behind the post, push it forward and close out my double crochet, and then yarn over and push the next post. I'm going to push it backward. So insert my hook through the front, push the hook back and close out my double crochet, and that's a back post double crochet. So the next one is a front post, and then I make a back post. So just keep alternating between front post and back posts until you get to the end of the row. So I want to make one more row of this, but first I have to finish, so don't forget this very last double crochet that you need to finish your row, because otherwise it'll make the brim narrower than the hat. So for this last row, if you're going to make an adult one, you can make a few more rows of this, but I just need it to be really tiny brim. So you chain 2 and you work another front post double crochet in that front post double crochet. The one next to it is a back post, so you make a back post double crochet. And then you make a front post in this front post double crochet. And you just keep working this way. You're just extending the row that you made, your previous row, you're just extending it one more row. If you're going to make an adult beanie, just make the brim, make as many rows as you want the brim to be in width. So here I'm at my last stitch now. So I just made my last double crochet and we are done. So here's the tiny brim, and it's reversible, so I can fold it up and it'll work just fine. So now to close my hat, I'm just going to fold it in half. So I folded it inside out so that the cabling was on the inside and I can hide the stitching in the back. So I'm just going to align my edges and I'm just going to insert my hook through the other side. And I'm just going to yarn over and pull through both of the stitches. Here we go. And close out as a single crochet. And I'm going to make a single crochet in each of the stitches for this little row. So just insert your hook along the edge. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. You're just closing up your hat, but try to space out your single crochets so that you don't have any gaps in the side of your beanie. So I'll just keep inserting my hook through both sides of the beanie and closing it with a single crochet. So now that I've gotten to the end, I've almost completely closed my beanie. We're just going to leave a nice long tail of yarn because we've got to sew up the top part. So leave a nice big piece of yarn because we're going to sew it together. So I'm just going to close this with a slip stitch and grab, I'm going to use a tapestry needle. You can use a yarn needle or a tapestry needle or any needle you have, so long as you can fit your yarn through it. So just going to close up the top part of my hat, and for that you're just going to stitch in and out, so just weave in and out on the top part of your beanie a few times. And this also doesn't have to be perfect, but remember that you're going to be tightening it, so as you pull your yarn it's going to tighten and close the top part of the hat. So we're going to go around a few times just to make sure that our hat is nice and secure. See, I'm just going to give it a couple more stitches. There we go. And I will tighten it a little as I go so you can see kind of how it starts to close the hat. There we go. So pull it nice and tight and we've closed the top part of our beanie. So now I'll just go, I'll just sew through in and out in different directions just to make sure that I keep this hat closed. Make sure you double knot it, and you could just weave the ends of your yarn through when you're done, and that way your hat won't become unraveled. So I'll make a small knot here. There we go. I'll double that up. There we go. And now I could just weave in the ends. So I'll do the same for the last, the other little piece of yarn that I have. I'll just go through, weave it in, and tuck it away so that you don't see it. So I finished weaving in my ends. So now I just have to flip my hat right side out. And there we go. So here is our little beanie. So now all that is left to do is add a pom-pom to the top if you want one. You don't have to put one on there. And I'll just get this measured and make sure it's the size I need. Just a little over, just a little under, 3.5 inches. And there we go. I can flip my little brim over and we have a beanie. So if you have any questions on this pattern or any questions on anything I did in the video, please leave them down below. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this, and give it a like if this is the type of video you like to see. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm at mode.bespoke. Be sure to check the description box below so you can get a little more information about bundles for babies. And yeah, thanks for watching.